spell your first name. I'm sorry. Pronounce your first and last name, and spell your first and last name for the court.
Harshida Davis, Harshida, last name Davis, Davis.
And where are you employed?
I work for Enterprise Mobility, which operates as Enterprise Alamo and National Car Rental.
And how long have you worked for Enterprise Mobility?
23 years?
And are you here locally?
Yes.
Tell the jury briefly about your time with Enterprise.
So I've worked with Enterprise in several different markets. I started in North Carolina, in Charlotte, North Carolina. I have worked in the Chicago market, the Fort Myers market, and most recently here in the Atlanta market. I've been here for just over 5 years, and I manage the risk management program for all of Atlanta and Atlanta metro area and suburbs and north of Atlanta.
And if you can tell the jury, what does your group do as far as the risk management program?
So my department is primarily responsible for vehicle safety, security, investigations, compliance, and litigation.
And in your role, are you familiar with the official records of Enterprise Holdings?
Yes.
Right. And are those documents or records generated when an individual rents a vehicle?
Yes.
And are those records kept in a regular and ordinary course of business for Enterprise Holdings?
Yes.
Tell the jury, what are the documents that are generated when an individual rents a vehicle?
So we generally have the rental agreement, which would be signed by the person renting the vehicle. And then we also have documents that are generated once the rental agreement is initiated, documents that can be generated throughout the rental, within the computer system.
And when you're renting a vehicle with a rental agency, a part of Enterprise Holdings, are there security cameras and security footage at the locations?
There are typically security cameras at the locations. Not every single rental location in our company has security cameras.
And if there are certain facilities with surveillance videos, are those surveillance videos kept in a regular and ordinary course of business for Enterprise Holdings?
Yes.
Ms. Steele.
Can you generally describe the rental process for an individual renting a vehicle with Alamo under the Enterprise umbrella?
So typically someone renting with Alamo where specifically, it would be different based on location. So I'm just wanting to make sure which location you would like me to.
Let's talk about the location at the airport.
At the Atlanta airport.
Atlanta airport, yes.
Okay, so at the Atlanta airport, an individual would typically, they could walk up for a reservation or they could book a reservation in advance. They would arrive at our counters at the rental car center, and we would validate the reservation, validate form of payment, as well as validate the driver's license for the person who would be renting the vehicle.
And when you say you validate the driver's license, what exactly do you do in order to validate?
It's we visually validate the driver's license, that it belongs to the person who's renting the vehicle.
And are cars with Alamo sometimes rented through third-party businesses?
Yes, you can book through a third-party agency. So there's different agencies that book rather than going just straight to the Alamo website.
Is the rental process different if you book through a third party versus going directly to the Alamo website?
It's not. The only difference would be the form of payment may be prepaid versus paid at the counter.
You talked about verifying identification. What identification needs to be presented to rent the vehicle with Alamo?
If you have a valid U.S. driver's license, we would just require you to present your original, true valid driver's license. If you have a foreign driver's license, we would need the foreign driver's license. If the foreign driver's license, we're not able to interpret it, we would require also an international driver's license be presented alongside the foreign driver's license, and then a copy of the we would view the passport.
When individuals rent cars with Alamo, are they allowed to have a secondary driver?
You can add a secondary driver to the contract.
If the secondary driver is a spouse, do they have to be added to the contract?
We do not add spouses to the contract. Built into our contract, a legal spouse with a valid driver's license is able to operate the vehicle.
Now, if a renter approaches with an individual and they say that's their spouse, can they be an authorized user? Do you verify whether or not they are actually married or not?
We do not.
Now, with Alamo, with your fleet of vehicles, when an individual rents a vehicle from Alamo, are they allowed to tint or manipulate the vehicle in any way?
No.
We earlier talked about surveillance footage. Is there surveillance footage at the Alamo location Alamo rental location at the Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport?
Yes.
Generally, how long are surveillance videos kept at that location?
At that location, surveillance should be kept for a minimum of 60 days. Depending on how much data, you could get a little bit longer than that, but it's a minimum of 60 days.
And in your role, do you sometimes get requests from law enforcement to assist with law enforcement investigations?
Yes.
Now, earlier you talked that part of the risk management job duties is to ensure vehicle safety and security. How do you go about ensuring vehicle safety and security?
Well, we have a lot of internal processes in place, but there's also external laws and guidelines we have to follow in regards to keeping vehicles safe. And our job in our risk management department is to coach and train all employees that come through are hired on in the company to know, how to ensure that they are only renting safe vehicles, and how to properly inspect vehicles and what condition they should be rented in.
I want to direct your attention to March 16th, 2022. Did a member of Alamo Security team get a request for documentation for a rental vehicle associated with a tag number of MD8ED7071 from the Atlanta Police Department?
They did.
And were you able to provide any documentation or any other information regarding that vehicle?
I'm sorry, what?
Sure. Were they able to produce any documentation to the Atlanta Police Department?
Yes.
And have you had the opportunity to see that documentation prior to your testimony today?
Yes.
Am I tripping, or was Shannon Stillwell detained on the 17th? Because the police showed up and responded to Waters Road. But I remember yesterday, and it could be the attorneys mincing the dates, right? That's totally possible. But I remember Shart saying, and on the 17th, you asked Shannon Stillwell about the 16th. And he told you he was present, and people were shooting at the house, the Waters Road house. And that's when you ask him what car it was. So unless Shart was getting the dates messed up, this I have notated as, now let's talk about the 17th. And I did the way I took my notes, I switched the days as Shart moved along. You started asking about the 16th. So they already made the request for the tag to Alamo. But yesterday, they were acting like they only looked at that car because Shannon Stillwell told them it was his. And that's the only reason they started treating him as a suspect. I am telling you, he was detained as a victim and should have been Mirandized. I think this is hugely problematic.
Permission to approach her?
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked as Stacy Exhibit 186 VV and 187 VV. Tell me if you recognize those items.
I do.
First, start with 186 VV. How do you recognize 186 VV?
These are the rental agreement details for the rental in question.
And how do you recognize 187 VV?
This is the signed rental agreement that was initiated at the time of that rental.
And are these two documents, the rental agreement details and the rental agreement, kept in the regular and ordinary course of Alamo business?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit Stacy Exhibit 186 VV and 187 VV into evidence.
Those are admitted.
Permission to publish.
Just a weird button on StreamYard. My bad. Let me share the screen. I have it paused so we didn't miss anything. There we go. And also to note that after Shart asked a specific question to probe at, so you found out that's when you started treating him like a suspect, talking about the 17th or the 16th. Flores, the one on the stand that couldn't be shown yesterday, said, no, we connected the dots a few days later. But what are they doing here on the 16th? Independently.
And if we are able to zoom in. Looking at Stacy Exhibit 186 VV, what document is 186 VV?
So this document is the printout of the rental agreement details.
Okay. And let's start from the beginning. What is the rental time and date for this vehicle?
So the rental time of pickup is March 14th, 2022 at 14:58 hours. And the estimated return time is March 20th, 2022 at 1500 hours.
Okay. And it's 14:58, 2:58 p.m.,
Yes.
right? And is there any other information contained within this first portion of the document of note?
Just the rental agreement number, which is our file number for this rental, the reservation number, as well as it does, the 258 timestamp is when the contract was started. And then the 3:07 or 1507 minutes just is when the contract was completed.
And its completion when it is actually signed?
It's when the vehicle is added to the rental and completed at the exit.
Okay. All right, I want to scroll down to the second portion of Stacy Exhibit 186 VV.
Look at
Now,
MLS
looking
showing
at
love.
the
Drop some
second
MLS
portion
in the
where it
chat.
has that's frequent traveler program, what information is contained in this second portion of 186 VV?
This is just information regarding how the vehicle was booked and what the rates contract numbers are. But you can see where it says Priceline package, it's just saying that it was booked through Priceline.
All right. And going down to the next portion, do we see the license plate number?
Yes.
And what is that license plate number?
It's AED 7071,
And-
Maryland.
And are you able to see here what type of vehicle it is?
It does not state.
I'm the one breaking it 'cause I'm
Exactly
trying
what
to find
type
out
of vehicle
Lego
it is
law.
right here. However, it does, provides the last 8 digits of the VIN, the vehicle identification number, and then it also states that it's a luxury car.
Okay. And within your luxury fleet at Alamo, are Audis a part of your luxury fleet at Alamo?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Sure. You said it was a luxury vehicle.
Yeah,
Within your luxury fleet, is an Audi considered one of the vehicles that's a part of the luxury fleet?
correct.
All right. I want to scroll down. Who is the renter for this contract?
Shannon Bernard Jackson.
Right. And there's some information redacted. Would that be the information that would have been provided as a part of the rental agreement?
Yes, as part of this document, that information is, this section is the contact information for the renter.
Okay. Scrolling down. And let's start at the beginning of the note section. What information is generally contained within the note section of this rental agreement detail?
So it's just your basic information when you first pick up the vehicle. It tells you if any products have been added to the contract, you know, just what's been done to initiate the rental.
And looking at 258 on March 14th, 2022, what, if any, information was provided within the note section?
We just, there's an alert that came through that, you know, we needed to verify ID and payment method,
All right.
which is standard.
I want to scroll down to March 16th, 2022 at 13:36. What, if anything, happened on March 16th, 2022?
So it appears that the renter contacted our customer service department and extended the rental. The customer service department provided a new rate, a new extension date for the contract, and indicated that the renter agreed.
Okay. And is it fair to say that the initial agreement was for March 14th through March 16th, but then on March 16th it was extended to March 20th?
Yes.
Is there any other information contained on 186 VV? You can scroll.
No.
No,
There is, I think you skipped over the section in the personal information. There's a little section of just that does provide a driver's license number for the person renting the vehicle, but it was blacked out.
okay. And would that have been verified like we discussed earlier?
Yes.
All right. Now looking at 187 VV. Looking at State's Exhibit 187 VV, what is 187 VV?
This is the signed rental agreement that was initiated at the time of the rental.
And does it contain some of the information that was in the rental agreement details that we just looked at?
Yes, it does contain some of the same information.
Now, what was the address of the rental location where this vehicle was rented from?
2200 Rental Car Center Parkway in College Park.
And is that your Atlanta Airport location?
Yes.
And what, on here, does it tell us what type of vehicle was rented on the rental agreement?
It tells you the type of vehicle, and it does tell you the rental information. It doesn't actually provide the VIN on this document. It provides it, it's in the rental agreement details.
All right. And I want to scroll down to the middle. Is this the document that would have been provided to Mr. Jackson at the facility when he went to go pick up the car?
Yes,
All right. And looking at the signature lines, is it signed SJ?
yes.
All right. And then flipping to page 2 of the document. Is there a final signature at the bottom of the page?
Yes, yes.
And generally, what is the renter agreeing to by signing this document?
The renter is agreeing to our terms and conditions of the rental contract.
And would the terms and agreement include not manipulating or adding tents to the vehicle?
Yes,
All right. Now, at the airport facility, does that facility have surveillance video?
yes.
Okay. And as a part of the request from the Atlanta Police Department, were you able to provide surveillance images for this rental?
Yes.
Commissioner approach again.
You may.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State Exhibit 189 BV and 188 BV. Tell me if you recognize 189 BV and 188 BV.
Yes.
How do you recognize them?
There are screenshots from video footage from our camera system.
And do those appear to be a fair and accurate depiction of screenshots from the surveillance images from the rental on March 14, 2022?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit State Exhibit 189 VV and 188 VV into evidence.
Those are, thank you, admitted.
First, we want to publish State Exhibit 188 VV. When a renter, while we're waiting for it, when a renter calls in or requests for a vehicle extension, do you ever ask for a reason for the vehicle extension?
No, it's a pretty common practice.
All right. Looking at State Exhibit 188 VV, can you tell the jurors where at the Alamo, is this the airport facility? Is this the Alamo Airport facility?
Yes.
Okay. Where would this surveillance video image be captured?
At our exit booth.
Okay. And looking at the exit booth, do you see a young woman in the driver's seat?
Yes.
And are you able to see anyone from this picture in the passenger seat?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to tell sitting here if that's a male or a female?
I think it's a male.
Okay. All right. And what is happening generally when this images is being captured?
When the renter completes the contract, they go out to the garage where they select a vehicle. And so at the exit booth, the vehicle is then added on to the contract. And they just, have to show the information that they were given at the counter. And this is where the completion of the contract happens.
Do you have to show your driver's license again at this particular portion of the rental process?
They may request it.
Now I want to show you what's been admitted as Exhibit 189 VV. Where is this image being captured?
So this is at our counter, at the Alamo counter that's located in the rental car center.
And would this generally be the beginning of the process to rent the vehicle, or to pick up the vehicle, I should say?
Yes.
Now, to your knowledge, was this vehicle ever returned to the rental facility on March 20th, 2022?
It was not.
Did you ever recover this vehicle?
We did.
And where was it recovered?
It was recovered from the police.
And when vehicles are recovered, do you take pictures of the vehicles once it's returned back to Alamo?
We will if the vehicle is damaged or it has any change of condition from when it was rented out.
Okay. Permission to approach again, Your Honor?
Ma'am.
I'm showing you what's been marked as State's Exhibit 176 BV through 185 BV. I want you to take a moment and look through this. Finish? Do those appear to be fair and accurate depictions of pictures that were taken of the vehicle when it was recovered and brought back to Alamo?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time the state would like to admit State's Exhibit 175 BV through 188 BV.
Okay, before you said 176 through 185,
I'm
what is
sorry.
it really?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry, 176 through 185.
Okay, those are admitted.
And first, I want to start with State's Exhibit 185 VV. Looking at State's Exhibit 185 VV, is this the vehicle that was rented to Shannon Jackson on March 14th, 2022?
Yes.
And in looking at State's Exhibit 185 BV, do you notice anything different about the vehicle when it's returned to Alamo?
The vehicle does have a significant just amount of tint on it.
And where do
Couldn't
you
take
see that
off
significant amount
because
of
it was
tint
impounded.
on it?
In this picture, I can see it on the windshield.
And would Alamo have had any tint on the vehicle when it was rented?
We do not tint our vehicles.
I'm going to show you what's been admitted as Exhibit 176 VV. I'm going to show you 184 VV and 180 VV. Do those pictures also show a similar level of tint on the vehicle?
Yes.
And sitting here now, do you know when that tint was ever put on that vehicle?
I do not.
Hilton wanted her to say, when Shannon Jackson had it.
Now I want to show you 182 VV. 183 VV, and 177 VV.
That type of mess looks like somebody was ripping that car apart to try to find something. Who does that? Who rips cars apart to find things?
First, let me ask, where is this facility, or what facility is this, where the car is?
So this facility is located at 4100 Global Gateway Connector. It is at our service center lot where vehicles are taken after, you know, they've either been towed in from being damaged, or they need to be serviced, or, you know, returned by the police if they were involved in an investigation. It's not the rental car center. It's an off-site location at the airport.
And in looking at, again, 182 VV and 183 VV, do you see any differences on the inside of the vehicle that would not have been present when the car was first rented?
Yeah, I mean, you can see where the headliner's down, parts of the vehicle have been dismantled. Appears that the windshield was taken out. So there's just different things that have happened to the vehicle.
And I want to look at 183 VV. You just mentioned the headliner being taken out. Looking at 183 VV, where would the headliner have been prior to it being removed from the vehicle?
It just would have been surrounding what is like the sunroof up there, where I guess it's just hard to describe, but that area. Can I point?
Yes, you can. Do you have a statement?
I don't know, but. Thank you.
And you can stand.
So this is where you can tell that something's been removed. You know, that was originally there.
All right, thank you. You can take your seat. Now, I want to go back to the tent. To your knowledge, did Mr. Jackson ever request or ask anyone at Alamo if he could have an exception to the rule and tent the vehicle?
No.
If he would have called and made such a request, would one have been granted?
No.
Course indulgence for one moment. Looking at 172 VV and 173 VV. And the item that we see on the ground, this Scott item, is that just an item that's in the facility?
Yes. It appears that it's just a piece is leaning up against it, and that would just be stuff that we have in our service center.
Okay. Now looking at 179 VV. What is contained in 179 VV?
So this is the dash of the vehicle, and this is just a typical picture that we take whenever we're taking pictures of a damaged vehicle. We would take this standard picture of the odometer.
All right. And as I wrap up, going back to State's Exhibit 186 VV. The driver's license information that's contained on this document, would that have been the driver's license information of Mr. Jackson?
It would have been the information of Mr. Jackson as the renter of the vehicle.
Okay. And then my last question, when we looked at the tinting on the vehicle, were all of the windows significantly tinted?
I don't have the pictures right in front of me, but based on what we just reviewed and what I've looked at, yes. Yes.
Court indulgence, please.
It appears that all of the windows are tinted.
This is her close, and she wants the word tint to ring out loud to the jury. So the word tint sticks to the jury. To me, that signals that's the worst thing that's to come out of anything that we just saw. And I don't think she was very clear. She did ask for where is this car located when it's all torn apart. And the witness gives an address. But how clear was it to you guys that that could have been a facility where that actually was taking place? To me, it's not clear. They're not touching the line of where that car could have been, right? It was returned to them at some point by the police. That's all we know. So Hilton, after all of that, is showing this picture of the car torn apart. And the worst she can say to the jury, if this is going to be her punchline, if she's about to pass this witness, is remember the tint. Remember the tint.
Court indulgence for one moment.
Which he could have removed if he was able to have the car and return it himself. Heck yeah, and I know Shart's going to reference the tinting testimony, and I hope
No further questions.
Hilton tries to object.
Yes, Your Honor. Thank
Heck
you,
yeah, let's
Ms.
go,
Davis.
Shart.
Good morning still. My name is Max Shard. I represent Shannon Stillwell, okay? All right. And let me Shannon Stillwell is also known as Shannon Jackson. Okay, so Shannon Jackson, I may say Stillwell, Jackson Stillwell, same person, okay?
Okay.
All right. Ms. Knight, would you do me a favor and just put up 189 VV? Thank you. Ms. Davis, if I ask you any questions about specifics, I'm going to have this picture published, but just let me know if you need to refer to any of the other documents in front of you.
Okay.
Such as the rental contract, et cetera, okay? All right, so as I understand, Mr. Jackson, or I'm going to say Mr. Stillwell. Mr. Stillwell came in to rent a car on March 14th at approximately 3 p.m. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was that car, do you know if that car was already booked online or if he just, with his friend, arrived at the counter to rent this car?
Based on the information from the rental agreement, it appears that there is a reservation attached to the rental.
When was that car reserved?
I do not have that information.
Okay, so we don't know when the online reservation was made. All right.
No.
State didn't ask.
Okay, so Mr. Stillwell shows up with this, do you know this lady's name?
I do not.
Okay. So he shows up with this lady and to pick up his car that he booked online, correct?
It appears that way.
Okay. He came into the Alamo rental desk where there's surveillance videos himself. He didn't send someone else to come pick up the car, did he?
I don't believe so.
Okay. He provided his name, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And I know certain things were redacted. He provided a address from his license.
Correct.
He provided a telephone number.
Correct.
He provided his license.
Correct.
He paid using a credit card, correct?
He had a Priceline reservation, so he would have had a credit card on file, but likely it was prepaid through Priceline.
Okay, so he had a credit card on file. Mm-hmm. Okay, all that information was presented and known by Alamo when he came to pick up this car that he reserved at some other time earlier, correct?
Correct.
All right. And he signed the rental agreement, correct?
Correct.
In his real name.
Correct.
All right. So then, and that was, he picks up the car on March 14th at approximately 3 p.m. And then on March 16th, he, according to the records, and I know you were not on the phone personally, right?
Correct.
All right, but you're the custodian of records. According to the records, he calls on March 16th at 1:37 p.m. and wants to extend the rental on this white Audi, correct?
He did call. I might have to refer to the document to confirm the time. Yes, at 1:36 p.m.
Okay.
1:36
Now-
p.m. ET.
We'll talk about the tint. Ms. Knight, could you put up a picture of the car with the tint? Okay. When you received this car back from the police on March 20th, right? 2022? Was it March 20th you received the car back?
I don't know the exact date it arrived on our lot. March 20th is the estimated return date of the rental, but the vehicle wasn't returned through the normal return meet.
Fair enough. Don't worry about the date. When you received this car back from the police, right?
Yes,
Okay, it had tint on it.
yes,
Okay. And tint was a violation of the rental agreement, wasn't it? Applying tint to the car.
we do not allow folks to alter the vehicle.
Mr. Stillwell violated assuming he applied the tint to the car, he violated the rental agreement, didn't he?
Yes,
Okay. Did you charge him with any crimes?
violating a rental agreement, I did not charge him with any crimes.
Right. Okay. It was just a rental agreement, right?
Correct.
Okay. Are you aware that prior to renting a car from you, 2 separate attempts had been made on Mr. Stillwell's life?
Objection, Your Honor, assuming.
It's in evidence.
Objection, what's your objection?
It's not an evidence, but it
Were
is.
you aware, when you came to testify, that 2 different attempts had made upon Mr. Stillwell's life?
I was not aware.
Were you aware that one of those attempts on his life was made when he was in a car?
I was not aware.
Okay. Ms. Knight, if you could please display 172 VV first. Okay, I just want to be clear on this. This picture, and maybe, I'm sorry, Ms. Knight, maybe 173 would be better. Okay, the purpose of this picture is to show and we're going to get to the headliner in a second, but when you received the car back, the sunroof, is it moonroof, sunroof? Whichever one it is.
Yes.
Okay. Had been damaged somehow before you got the car back.
Yes.
Okay, and you don't personally know if that was damage done by Mr. Stillwell or done by the police when they were manipulating the car. That's fair to say?
Correct.
Okay, and the purpose of this photo is just to document the damage to the glass in the sunroof.
Correct.
Okay, and I just want to be clear what we're talking about. These other supplies, those are just supplies that were in the Alamo business, wherever this was, a storage facility, and not anything more than that.
Correct.
Okay, cool, thank you. And if you could just put 183. And again, this is the condition you got this car back from the police, correct?
Correct.
And you're familiar with the term headline?
Correct.
Okay, and the headliner
Yeah.
had been removed, correct?
Correct.
Okay. I have one brief moment.
There you go, Lois. Damage from removing the headliner.
I have no further questions. Thank you, Ms. Davis.
Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Weinstein? No question. Any redirect?
I'm going to show you part of what's been admitted as the 170 VV. Tell me if you recognize 170 VV.
I do. I do.
It was 170 VV.
It's the invoice that we received when we had to pick up the vehicle from the police and have it towed back to our facility.
And what is the date on that document?
March 24th.
And would that be when the vehicle would have been returned back to Alamo?
Yes.
Mr. Shar asked you a series of questions regarding potential attempts on Mr. Jackson's life. Do you know if he has rented any other vehicles between 2015 and 2022?
I'm not aware.
Probably weren't asked to look.
Sitting here today, do you have any idea why a renter would put substantial tint on a vehicle that they were just renting initially for 2 days?
Oh, she's asking if she knows. So if you know, then you can answer.
Let me repeat it.
I have my, I mean, a renter would,
Sustained.
Must
Sounds
say
like she does
speculate.
not know.
yeah.
All right. Think I have no further questions.
Any recross?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Go ahead.
During the course of your time with Enterprise, how many cars have you had that may have had their headliner removed?
I wouldn't be able to answer that question.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Recross? All right, thank you for your time. You are excused. Do we have another witness that won't take us more than 30 or 40 minutes?
It's the other witness here.
How much time are you giving me?
I mean,